Hello everyone, this is Donnie aka Elevated with another video on behalf of Dota Alchemy, and we're back with yet another tier list. We're going to be covering the hard supports that are super good right now in the current meta, and this is the tier list that I have created based on my own personal playing experience, as well as using a lot of the pros as a model. So looking at Dota 2 Pro Tracker, looking at Dota Buff, seeing what people are playing, and then also incorporating my own experience in the game as well. And we're going to start off with the S tier. These heroes are pretty much pickable in every single game, and the only caveat is actually for this first hero, which is Venge. Vengeful Spirit is a hero that has been on this tier list for the last couple of times that we've done it. The hero is extremely good. You'll see it being picked a ton. It's a great first pick hero because there's so many good heroes in the current meta that pair well with Venge, such as Puck, such as TA, such as Drow, such as Viper. All of these heroes love the Vengeance aura. The fact that this is now not only attack range, but also bonus agility for all those heroes is just so good. The 2 charges on swap have made this ability feel like it's not just a death sentence every time you use it. It feels like you can use it aggressively. You can really outplay people when they're chasing you and trying to kill you. And just the whole kit of this hero really seems to have come together with the new arrangement of skills. Talent-wise, Venge is okay. She's not great, but just the skills themselves are so good that it really sets this hero in the upper echelon. And when you pair it with a lot of the current meta heroes, it's just an incredibly good hero. Very few times will you find yourself being sad that there's a Venge in lane with you, and then in the game you'll also rarely find yourself being sad that there's a Venge on your team, unless you're against a Puck, which is obviously one of the most popular and best heroes in the game right now. And at that point, because of how Dream Coil works, you probably don't want to snap the coil on your teammate, and so in that matchup, Venge definitely gets a bit of a downgrade. The next S tier hero is Disruptor. And this hero is something that has really started to come on as of late. There are a ton of Position 5 players just absolutely spamming this. If you look on Dota 2 Pro Tracker, you'll see that it has a good win rate and a pretty high pick rate, and I think that's just going to continue to climb. This has always been sort of the trademark hero of the CIS region because of how much Disruptor likes to fight and how much they like to run at people. But that's just kind of the meta for everybody at this point, and so that makes Disruptor really good. Thunderstrike is still probably one of the top 5 trading spells in the laning stage, which is obviously extremely good in the current meta. You really are just battling it out for the first 5, even 10 minutes of the game, trying to outtrade the other team and control the laning stage. And then, of course, Glimpse just gives you a ton of utility. Really good against a lot of the popular meta heroes like Puck and TA and the heroes that build Blink, Slarks, that kind of stuff. Everybody that's trying to be slippery, Glimpse can shut that down pretty heavily. And then Static Storm and Kinetic Field, the combo that really kind of takes over team fights in the mid and late game. And this hero has a GPM talent, which is super nice, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get there just because of the outposts and because everybody's just running around brawling all the time anyway. So Disruptor, super good in the current meta, and I highly recommend people learn to play. It's not that difficult of a hero as well. Next we have Winter Wyvern, and Winter Wyvern is a hero that I've loved playing for a long time. It was super popular like 8 to 10 months ago, and then kind of fell out of favor, and is now really back in the meta in a big way. And a lot of that has to do with just the fact that they changed Winter's Curse to allow you to attack through it, in addition to the fact that she's super good at controlling these objectives and delaying the game. It's a 5 that can shove waves, it's a 5 that can hold towers, it's a 5 that can change the course of a team fight with a big ultimate, and she also has the ability to enable free pathing. Arctic Burn is insane. It allows you to get wards in really difficult places to ward. It allows you to get flying vision when you're trying to contest outposts, and then it's just a really good skill in general in terms of the amount of damage and utility that it gives you as well. Having a GPM talent at level 10 is huge. The night vision is really nice. and Winter Wyvern is super good against all of these very high physical damage cores like the Drows and the TAs that are very popular right now as well. And Treant Protector is our final S tier hero. This hero has been in the S tier for pretty much the entire time since it was changed and reworked to have Nature's Grasp. Ever since they added back in the Nature's Guise, actually, is when this hero skyrocketed in terms of its potential. I mean, frankly, not much has changed since then. He just outtrades basically anybody in the laning stage, and then he now has the ability to delay people and shove out waves without a Meteor Hammer. Yes, Nature's Grasp is not necessarily the fastest lane pusher, but it can accomplish the same kind of thing that you would get with a Meteor Hammer. And now that you don't have to go the hammer, it's still a good item on the hero, but you don't have to go it every single game, especially if you're a 5. It's much better to get stuff like a Vlad's and a Blink Dagger, and having that ability to mix up your item build and play in different ways and just constantly fight with this hero, which is what you want to do, has made Tree super powerful. Overgrowth, getting the damage per second, makes this just vastly better than the previous version of the spell. And generally speaking, I think that Tree is one of the best counters to a lot of the current heroes in the meta as well. He's got damage over time to deal with heroes like TA. He's got roots to deal with all these slippery heroes, and it's just a very, very difficult hero to lane against, and laning stage tends to snowball the game in 7.23e. Moving on to the A tier heroes, we're going to start with Nature's Prophet, and Prophet is a hero that has fallen off a little bit in terms of the popularity, but it's still being picked up quite a bit by pros such as Puppy. The ability to teleport anywhere on the map to help you control outposts, the ability to split push, the ability to get wards in places that nobody else can, are all things that Prophet brings to the table. He trades quite well in the laning stage, and while he doesn't have a traditional sort of like support, save, heal, that kind of stuff for his carry, a lot of the laning stage is just about being able to ferry out enough regen and out regen your opponents and get control of the lane, and Prophet has the ability to act as sort of a secondary courier for his lane as well, so that's very, very beneficial. Generally speaking, this hero hasn't changed much, and just his kit as it stands is valuable in the current meta, where being able to show up to any fight at any time, as well as putting pressure in the side lanes, which are much, much more important than they were in any previous patch before 7.23, is just a huge benefit to have on any hero. And because 5 seems to be one of the best roles to play Prophet in, just because he kind of does his job as Nature's Prophet, regardless of how much farm he has, it just fits pretty well into that role. And hero number 2 in the A tier is Lich. And Lich is a hero that has gone in and out of popularity. It's always been a good 5, it seems like, in the history of Dota, and even this current iteration of the hero with his Sinister Gaze as well as Frost Shield has a special place in that 5 role. It doesn't seem like he functions in any other role better than a 5, and that's always been the case for him. He trades very well in the laning stage with Frost Blast. The slows that he gets from Frost Blast and Frost Shield are very good for taking good trades and chasing people down for early snowballing kills. And then he has Sinister Gaze, of course, to help set up his team with a 1.6 duration channeled stun. Additionally, Frost Shield is one of the best spells in the game at defending towers, and being able to keep a side lane tower alive much longer than it should be can be the difference between winning and losing a game. So if your carry does get forced out of lane, or if he opts to leave just to go farm the jungle, get neutral items, or push another tower, then Lich can sit in that lane and keep the enemy team from taking it, which could be the key to allowing you to continue to control the outpost that is near that tier 1 tower in the side lane. The next A tier hero is Crystal Maiden, and this is a hero that's been on this tier list quite a bit recently. She's just still a good hero, no matter how many times they seem to nerf her, unless they get rid of Arcane Aura. It's just too good in a meta that's so heavily fighting reliant, because everybody needs mana all the time, and CM can give it to you when you have her on your team. She also is still one of the better trading heroes in the game, with Crystal Nova being so strong. The root from Frostbite is very good against the slippery heroes that we're finding a lot right now. Having the ability to even jungle can be pretty beneficial to help you get neutral items. There's nothing wrong with being a CM and going and stacking the jungle a bunch of times and then freezing fielding that stack if nobody else is going to take it or nobody else can. It's all about using your time efficiently. And then CM has an excellent talent tree with cast range, gold per minute, and just every single one of her talents is great. I'm going to be honest, I would like to take all 8 of them, and the fact that you can hit level 30 now sometimes very, very rarely on this hero, but her ability to enable her teammates to fight all the time fits very well into the current meta. The next hero in the A tier is Silencer, and this is sort of a new discovery. I saw that there were a few position 5 pro players that were spamming this hero recently, and they were actually going for an Aghanims if the game allowed, if they had a good start, because Last Word being an AoE nuke and AoE 6-second, essentially a secondary global silence on a 10-second cooldown is pretty staggering in terms of its impact. Additionally, this hero has always been really, really good at trading in the laning stage, thanks to Glaives of Wisdom, thanks to the slow from Arcane Curse, and just the fact that you have such a game-changing ultimate like Global Silence when you have all these slippery heroes like the Void Spirits, the Slarks, the Pucks, the TAs, anything that can shut those heroes down is super valuable. And that's one of the reasons why I think that Silencer belongs in the A tiers, just because these heroes are popular. Being able to silence them and keep them from escaping in that mid-game timing before they have a lot of defensive items can be so important to winning the game. Also, what hero that has infinite scaling doesn't like to fight? The fact that you can just permanently steal tons and tons and tons of int and then nuke people down with an AoE Last Word is just icing on top of the cake for Silencer, and that's why this hero, I believe, belongs in the A tier. Ogre Magi is the next hero in A tier, and this is just a mainstay hero in terms of being a valuable position 5. I think they would probably have to remove like half of his armor and base regen to make this hero not a good position 5 hero. Being able to bully out or tank through basically any offlane duo just gives such incredible value to being a frontline wall for the drows and the weaker safe lane heroes, which is basically all of them, at least in the early game. Bloodlust is just extremely powerful on pretty much every hero in the game. And then the fact that you've got a nice GPM talent, you scale extremely well, you love getting random neutral items, and just increasing your ability to be utility in the game. Sometimes you need somebody to run in and die, and Ogre is great at doing that, but Ogre also does a ton of damage and adds a lot of value to his team before that purpose is fulfilled. So I think that Ogre Magi is really, really still quite good. All of the popular carries like Bloodlust, and even if it's kind of a boring playstyle, it's still an MMR gaining playstyle. So Ogre belongs in the A tier. The next hero in the A tier is Puck, and this hero seems to be showing up everywhere because it is broken. Because this hero is incredibly good in pretty much any scenario, simply because you can always shove waves, you can always team fight, you can move around the map very quickly, you do too much damage, your auto attacks are probably too strong, and you can scale to become a core from any position just because you're nearly impossible to kill, and you can push waves faster than basically any other hero in the entire game, which means that even as a 5, you're going to get a dead lane at some point, and what better hero to send to the dead lane than a hero that cannot die? This hero is just too good right now, and so plenty of people are still playing it as a position 5, just to be able to fit the Puck into their lineup. The next hero is Viper, and this is another extremely popular hero and somewhat situational, but I think it belongs in the A tier just because it is one of the only heroes that can consistently outtrade the lane dominators like Lina, like Snapfire, like Puck in the 4 role. Viper is a hero that has just such a unique ability to trade better that it fits into the meta where you need somebody to kind of frontline for some of your carries. Viper is a hero that scales very well. You can take jungle stacks, you can push out waves with Nether Toxin, and while you don't provide a whole lot of control in terms of hard lockdown or roots, and you don't have any heals, you can be sort of like the Vengeful Spirit style, just eat damage, or the Ogre style, eat damage for your team, while also outputting a ton of utility and a ton of damage as well. Sometimes, like I said, somebody just needs to die, and Viper is one of the best heroes at doing that because he does so much damage while he is dying. And then just the fact that you pretty much can't lose the lane as Viper. And that is very valuable when the laning stage is so important for snowballing the game and being able to out-regen your opponents and then claim that first set of outposts and keep your towers alive so that you have better map control. Viper's one of the best heroes in all of those regards. For the B tiers and beyond, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail like I have for the S and A tier, but basically, GRIMSTROKE is a hero that has fallen out of favor just because of so many nerfs, and I think now it's a hero that's coming back into the meta because it pairs very well with popular heroes that want to just jump on people and fight. GRIMSTROKE is extremely good at fighting. You don't always need to have Soulbind up, even though the cooldown is quite low at level 3 in this skill. GPM talent at level 10 is always something good to look for, and the fact that you can shove out waves means that sometimes you can just put GRIMSTROKE in the dead lane and eat up a very difficult situation for your team. Ancient Apparition, this hero is still decent at fighting. You've got a 90 GPM talent at level 10. You trade pretty well in the laning stage. You enable a lot of very popular heroes like the Venomancers and such with Ice Vortex, like the Pucks. And Ice Blast is just always a very, very good skill, especially when you pair it with some of these area denial spells, or like the Roots from Tree, the Winter Wyvern Curse to set up, Disruptor Ultimate. All of these things are super good with an Ice Blast. Rubik is a hero that I'm throwing in the B tier just because it's a generally decent hero. It's pretty good at trading in the laning stage with Fade Bolt. Generally, we see this hero more as a 4, but because the 5 role is sort of morphed a bit into like the old 4 role in terms of how much farm you get, it fits to have a hero like a Rubik, or it allows for a hero like a Rubik, and sometimes you just want to pick a hero that you're good at. So I think that Rubik is pickable as a 5. It's not amazing, it's not great, but it is playable. Snapfire's in the B tier simply because this hero trades super well and provides a huge amount of damage during the mid and late game. I don't think necessarily that the kit lends itself to being a 5, but more so to being a 4, and that's the main reason that I think that it is a B tier hero. I think that this hero is a great 4, kind of like Rubik being a pretty good 4, but not the best 5, but definitely still pickable as a 5. Shen is a hero that has fallen a bit out of favor just because he's been nerfed fairly heavily recently. I think he's still probably viable just because of your ability to out-sustain lanes, but because the laning stage is a bit more kill-focused, a bit more pressure-focused, I don't know if his sort of just like bend, don't break style in the laning stage is as good, and especially because heroes such as Alchemist have fallen out of favor quite a bit, which this hero was paired with a lot early on. I think that he's definitely been downgraded. Definitely still a viable hero because early pressure is good to being able to snowball the game, and Deathball is still a very good way to play Dota. Warlock is another hero that tends to out-sustain heroes but not necessarily kill them in the laning stage, and he's also extremely cooldown reliant. If you notice, at the top level, we have basically no heroes that rely entirely on their ultimate, and all of them are very good at getting pickoffs and just kind of fighting a lot in the early laning stage and mid game. Warlock, pretty much, it's, do I have Rock? Yes, then I can fight. If I don't have ultimate, then I can't really do a whole lot, and that's why he's in the B tier. He does scale very well, but losing that EXP talent and the fact that he's so cooldown reliant has dropped him down several tiers, and he might even be a C tier hero just because of how reliant he is on golems to do anything. Enchantress is a hero that we have in the B tier, not being played a lot right now. I think the hero probably has some potential just because of sort of the same mechanic as Chen. You can out-trade people with creeps. You have impetus to trade with people in the laning stage. You have a heal that you can use, and this hero is definitely not the same Enchantress that we've known for so long, so you are killable because you have Untouchable at level 6 now, and that means that being an offlaner and just kind of dominating the offlane is no longer as viable. I think that we will see this hero experimented with at some point. Right now it's not being played a ton, but I think it's a pickable hero just because of sort of like the Viper factor, where you can probably out-trade people pretty well as a 5, either with your creep or with impetus and heals, and in that way you can kind of function as sort of like the tank for your core in a lane. JAKIRO. This is a hero that could potentially be up in A tier. I think that any hero that has a stun that you can place out in a location, a long stun, for example, like Ice Bath, that you can place out over a phase-shifted puck, for example, is very, very valuable in the current meta. I think that JAKIRO functions super well in keeping towers alive, de-pushing lanes. You have a very good talent tree. You do a lot of damage. You pressure towers, and you can delay the game for your team. I don't think the hero is quite good enough because it's a very slow-moving hero. It's pretty mana-intensive. It has a lot of impact, but I just don't think it trades quite as well as some of these A tier or S tier heroes, and it can definitely be bullied by something like a puck or a faster-moving hero than JAKIRO, because Jack is kind of slow. Shadow Demon, definitely a hero that's fallen out of favor quite a bit. I think probably rightly so. Losing the EXP talent is a bit of a bummer for this hero, but still it's a hero that fights quite well. Having the save from disruption, having a break potentially built into your hero if you are able to get an Aghanim Scepter is pretty valuable. But the hero just has not been getting picked a ton. I think with the loss of some of the setup heroes like the Leshracs and the Maranas, it's lost a bit of its viability. But I definitely think Shadow Demon is still a playable hero because it does trade pretty well in the laning stage, although not as reliably as the heroes above it in tier. Phoenix is one of the last B tier heroes, and this hero is mostly here just because of how well this hero scales. A lot of games are going sort of in the direction of having even your supports become core-ish, and Phoenix is one of the best like value in terms of getting a hero that doesn't have a whole lot of items, more and more levels. And the neutral items, I think, help Phoenix out. The fact that you have a GPM talent, the fact that you just do so much damage. You have a BKB piercing disable. Not the best hero for trading in the laning stage. Definitely not the best 5, and that's why it's in the B tier. But I think because of how well Phoenix scales into the mid and late game, this hero deserves to be played sometimes. Also, being able to pair it with something like a puck or a tree is super good. Bane is the final hero in the B tier, and this hero is just good. It's a good hero. It's great at trading. The lockdown that you get from Fiend's Grip is super good against a lot of the popular heroes, but it doesn't push waves. You can't really send it to the dead lane and eat up farm. It's a pretty one-track hero. You dominate the lane, and then hopefully you snowball off of some kills in the mid game. You can't really do a whole lot other than that, but it's good enough to pick if you think that you need to just win a lane super hard, and you'll win the game off of that. And you'll see here as we look at the C tier and the situational heroes, a lot of these are more cooldown reliant. Situational are a lot of just kind of meme stuff that really isn't played much as a 5, aside from maybe like the Shadow Shaman and the Elder Titan, who are pretty good at times. Wisp could be paired with a Tiny, and then some of my meme-ish heroes like the 5 Zeus and the Chaos Knight. C tier is mostly heroes that are good, except they rely so heavily on their cooldown and they can't really push waves other than Keeper of the Light and Dazzle. Dazzle, for example, is just better as a 4. I don't think he functions that well as a 5. His kit kind of lends himself to having items, to being more of a core. And I think that's the 4 role, the 3 role, the 2 role. So I don't think he's that good as a 5. Undying, obviously one of the best lane dominators in the game, but he relies so heavily on cooldown and ultimate that beyond the laning stage, you don't contribute enough to be that viable of a hero. You can't really push lanes, and sometimes you have to do that. Keeper of the Light has just been nerfed too much. His ultimate is such a huge part of what he does in the game. Definitely still a good hero, a pickable hero, but being so ultimate reliant can be difficult to play around, Spirit Breaker can't push lanes, and that's a problem. He doesn't scale very well. He doesn't take advantage of neutral items that well. And he's good at getting kills and snowballing, but he doesn't really do enough with that snowball to be worthwhile most of the time. Witch Doctor is better as a 4. He's not that good of a 5, but he is pickable because he scales quite well and can be almost a carry if you get him enough farm and items. But that being said, you're playing 5, you're probably not going to get there, and that's why I think he's better as a 4 than a 5. Oracle, just the same problem as some of these other heroes. You are a good support, but you don't do enough other jobs to make you an A tier or S tier hero. There's so few games where you're going to be like, hey, we lost the laning stage and I'm an Oracle. I feel like I can definitely have a lot of impact in this game. So with that being said, that is our hard support tier list for the current patch 7.23e. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Let me know if you think I misplaced any of these heroes or just forgot about a couple of them. Love to hear your thoughts in the comment section, and we will see you in another video very soon.